right, so you guys can see here, our buddy Tom Van Meter broke down his trade in this DGX, to a T. You can see here in the first little spot in red. This is in the beginning of March. He finds out about the same buddy, tells him that it's going to go to the moon. Does the complete opposite, and then Tom waits for that setup. You can see through 90. We talk about third times third times the charm is where we look to buy. So we can see towards the middle of March, it runs up to 80, it pulls back, runs up to 90 again, pulls back a little bit, higher low, and he looks to buy that third time up through that 90 level. When he gets in, he starts to trail his stop. You can see as the name moves higher through 90 up to 125. You see those arrows of where he's moving it. Originally, the stop was at 85. He moves it up then to break even at 90. Then he starts to trail it as a profitable trade at 95, then under 100, and then we can see recently 105 has been holding. So he bought on the way up. He waited for a proper setup. He trailed his winner trailed versus the low of the day as the stock moved in his favor. And now it's setting up for the next pattern through this 115 that he now doesn't have to trade perfectly. He can just, add in spots where it makes sense and have a proper stop. So this is actually a phenomenal trade. This is textbook and perfect. I think you can get. Anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, he nailed this trade. This is beauty.
Yeah, even though the breakdown of how he did it, it's very easy to follow along. Next, you want to pull up Heaven's trade in this ENPH.
Woo.
So in this one, in this ENPH, again, I zoomed it in more so it's easier for the people looking, watching to follow along. Similar, process. He looked to buy up through 48. He trailed the stop versus the low a day. So that green circle, when he's buying up through 48, the first day his stop is at below 46, which was the low of the day. As the stock starts to move in his favor, he's upping his stop, and he gets shaken out that first, that second day move. But again, he's locking in profit. He keeps trailing it again. He gets stopped at again, as it pulls down to 56. And then finally, he exited the trade a few days ago, and again, it went higher. But again, this is where right now you're looking at it, and it's like, well, obviously, why wasn't his stop 53.89? Because it's very easy to look at it after the fact, and the trade looks so simple. But in the moment, just like for right now, the stop would be, let's leave it at 59.99. But what's to say tomorrow it ticks that, and the next day it's at 70. So these are some of those tricky parts where after the fact, it's very easy to see the good parts of the trade as well as the mistakes. But in the moment, you have to react with what's going on. And you don't know what's going to happen the following day. But Heaven did a great job. I think he made 15% of that trade. It was over a couple of days, so he did a great job at that one. Next, we got Roberto in this UNH.
All right, I got it up.
So this is one he actually took with him. I'll go over my trade a little bit later, but for his trade, we were buying up through that 280 off, versus that support. That's been a big theme of us lately. We've been buying up off of support versus trying to buy that resistance breakout. So he bought up off of support. He actually got stopped at a little bit of some today as it came back down, but it's still setting up for that move to 300. But now he doesn't have to be that perfect buying 300 because he's got some stock. He's already booked some gains. So he's sitting with, a very, profitable swing that he was able to buy up off of support. Next, we got Tom Ramsey with his DraftKings. Shake, if you can pull that one up.
Got it.
All right. So again, we can see the green circle where his entry was. If you follow that 1750 line across, you can see that it's been a prior resistance area. So a big focus of ours is when the stock is coming back up near a resistance level, that's when we're starting to look to get involved. And for him, he bought up through at 1750. He had a stop below the low of the day, and the stock just started to drift higher. And in the last, less than a month, he's locked in so far 66% in this trade. When on his original risk, risking about $1 in this name, his risk was probably about 5%. So he's about 10-1 risk reward in this trade, and he still has some. So it's a great trade in that DraftKings. Next, we got Andy with this team.
All right, I can't really click this one, but let me just get it up on the chart.
All right.
How did Andy know to buy team?
I think he knew from the shakedown.
Ooh, smart fellow that Andy.
But now, Shake, where did you buy team?
I didn't load up because this thing broke Monday morning, but I just bought through this high 157.25.
Okay.
And then
so the
first red day I kick some, and then I'm holding the rest I have with a stop below that pivot. So let's see how Andy traded it.
the one mistake that he spoke about in this trade was, like you said, you were buying like 157. His entry was 160, and that was simply because he was just late to the trade. Which for us, that's a thing that we really do not want to happen again. It's mistakes that happen, but it's things we want to avoid. So this time it worked out in his favor, but that was one of his main mistakes where he unfortunately didn't get the proper price he should have. But the trade traded higher, and now his stop is 179.99. So he's just trailing his winner. Just kept moving his stop up, and he's holding a great trade now. But that was a mistake that he was aware of, that he's learning from. And let's see. Next we got Fabio. Look at his trade in this IRBT.
Ooh, iRobot, huh?
I think this is another one, Shake, that you called.
No, I didn't call this one.
No.
This is all him. This is a nice trade. I like this. All right, so, I'll explain the trade here. Earnings gaps up. Earnings flag to this beautiful level at 60. We see the horizontal resistance. And now, when we see, even though the stock might be beaten up a little bit, when we see this type of earnings reaction, and then we see it go sideways for a bit, what we can assume is that's a change of composure for the stock. The stock is more inclined now to break out of that downtrend because of the new news that we have on the name with their earnings, with how Wall Street's perceiving their earnings. So they flag out right in front of the 60 level. You just buy through this high, the 60 area. Pretty much, he sold some into strength, came down, consolidated, sold more into strength today. Did I nail that?
Yeah, he did.
All right.
And right now he's just trailing prior low day is his stop. And he's got about a third of his position left, which is great because now he can just sit and let it rock.
Great trade.
We got a few more. Okay, so next up is Nicholas with this Intel.
Oh, yeah? Sick job, Nick. Nice trade, Nick.
Yeah.
Good job. Killing it.
Jake, why don't you tell him this trade? Walk us through the trade since you were in it.
Oh, my God. I've been putting this fucking Intel in a body bag.
Russo, you okay? Can you go on? Get him a body bag! Yeah! All right.
So, the Intel trade is very simple. So, when Intel came out with earnings, this day right here, at this point, they were gapping down 5% on the day. Now, if we look at the daily chart for this Intel, we can see that this is a massive support area, and this is the earnings day I'm talking about. So when we walk into the market and this thing is gapping down 5% on earnings, it's like, oh man, the Intel must have been shit. So then when we see that huge buying, we know that this becomes a massive support area. So we're just going to keep taking this trade until it tells us not to. It comes back, holds the support level. We loaded it here. We ended up selling some here. Came back a couple days ago. What was that, Thursday? And it was like, we added here probably 20 cents off the low. My new price is like 56.40 or something like that with a stop below 56. And I was selling today. And I'm sure, he had pretty much the same trade. I didn't take any off Friday. But, very similar trade. Coming down to huge support, looking for that buying to continue, putting some risk on, very tight risk. I had 40 cents risk here, and today we're selling for $2.50. Great trade. That's some money trading. If you can do that all your life, you can be a trader.
Next, we got Joe Park and his SYK. You want to pull that one up?
Yeah, I'm trying to see what it was. All right, I see what he's doing. Did he sell any?
He's still holding on.
All right, I see that. All right, so this 175 area, that becomes the support buy. This is the same trade as that Intel, just a different chart. Obviously, I get a lot more information with it held to 56 on earnings for that Intel, all those other things I was saying. But, if you're looking, it's very basically, he's in this channel, 175 to 195. We see the hammer. We see it hold that area the next day, and that's where he's getting long against that support area, and he's selling it to strength. And we're seeing this trade just be the huge winner of this market over and over and over again. If you try to buy today's highs and shit, you're not getting as rewarded. When you're buying when things look amazing, you're not getting as rewarded. There's things like this team are few and far between from the SYK. But this is more of the things we're seeing in this market. You got to buy the support buy. Once it holds that support level, it takes some off into strength. Now this thing looks really good, but now is the time to trim that. Start to trim.
Definitely agree with you on that one. And then if you want to pull up the next one, the last one of the member good trades was this Mike Gallis also in this team.
Hey yo, did he get
And
an earnings day?
So if you pull up the chart, he actually
He bought earnings day. This is a fucking
Yeah.
man's trade. Yeah, I can talk about it easier on my.
you can
platform.
walk him through it.
So this was earnings day for team, and this was what made it make. Yeah, this is the candle that made me make it trade of the week. You can see off the open, it opens here, right here, this 150 area, and it pushes lower really quickly, and then it reverses higher, and then that's what made Mike get long, which is we saw that Friday, but I didn't have the stones to put the risk on because it was like, oh, it's Friday. Yeah, I talked myself out of the trade. It's Friday. I don't want the risk. Blah blah blah. The trade was there as we saw that Mike had it, but he bought that reversal right there with a stop probably below 146, and he had the best trade out of all of us in this team. So, he bought that earnings day. Then we're getting long. Oh no, he didn't. I had that whole wrong. No, he didn't. He bought when we bought.
He bought through 154, added through 156.
Yeah.
And then he started to kick some up through 165 into 174. Last kick was 181, and then stopped out fully 174.
Yeah, I just thought he bought earnings day, and I was like, wow, that is very fucking impressive. But he bought when we did, so not as impressive.
All right, well, that wraps up the member good trades. Hopefully you guys got some info out of some of our Alpha Chat members, their own individual trades separate from our own.